My name's Richard. Um, Most people call me Richie. Doesn't really matter. Um, Started pretty much in the 80s. There's a family friend that moved in with us, and he had, I believe it was a 1985 Maroon 300ZX. It's only two-seater, so one of my brothers would sit with him all the time. And that was my first exposure, because I'd be in the back, unbuckled, in the trunk, in between the seats. And I was like 4, something like that. And that was my first exposure to sport cars, manual transmission. And then my older brother in 88 bought a brand new Toyota Supra, but his was automatic. And it was still sicker than the 300ZX. So that was my earliest exposure. But even growing up, my favorite car was the next generation 300ZX, right around the 91s. 91 to 96s, I think it was. Whatever they ended up at. Yeah, those are sick. I remember a neighbor had one too. Yeah, that's my earliest memory of being exposed to those type of cars. And then my first car I got when I was 16. My dad gave it to me. It was a 1988 black Honda Accord sedan LXI, automatic, of course. And so through a quick list, I went from that 17-year-old drunk guy hit me head on, totaled that car. Then my dad got me a 92, a red 92 Prelude. And then the engine took a crap in that. And then I got a red Civic Si 2000. I was working at Linwood Honda at the time as a detail attendant. Those were some pretty fun days. After that Si, during owning that Si, I joined the Navy, and then my dad, for some reason, didn't think I was gonna come back to the area and sold that shit. And didn't even tell me. I called home from boot camp asking my nephew, hey, did you guys wash my car? What car? Ha, funny. Seriously, did you guys wash my car? No, seriously, what car? I'm like, guy, my Civic, my Si. Hello, my only car. Oh shit, yeah, your dad sold it like 2 weeks ago. Motherfucker. And then, so I came back from, I came back for like a week after boot camp, and then got shipped off to the ship. And so things were kind of on pause, and I came back from deployment, and I picked up a 96 Honda Prelude. No, sorry. That one I got a 94, a black 94 Prelude. It wasn't the 2.2, or it was a 2.3. So I traded that in because I found a green. I don't like green, but whatever. I found a green VTEC Prelude, 96. That one was 96. So I traded in for that one. And, you know, young and dumb, not caring. That one had a check engine light, and I still went for it. And I never figured out what it was. Got tired of that, impatient. Went to deployment again, came back, had some money, bought an EP3, brand new, like whatever, one of the first ones that was sold, whatever, silver one. and still ignorant to the game, I threw like 18s on there. It was like some Koenig, some weird Koenigs. I can't remember the name. They're like 6 or 7 spoke or something. Um, all along the way, my imagination was always bigger than my execution. I would never, because even with the EP3, I'm like, oh, I'm JDM this thing, and get the Type R body kit, this, that, maybe paint it white. I'm not much for repainting cars, but I wanted to make it Type R look, and all it ever ended up with was a set of 18s. And from that, then I got out of the Navy. I got a QX4, completely different way. After that QX4, I moved to Arizona for school. I got an S2000 after that. An '02 Sebring Silver S2000, ended up supercharging that. That one was pretty good. Not bad. And then I got rid of that one. I don't know what I had after that. There was a black 2000 Subaru RS 2.5 coupe in the mix. There was a silver 99 Subaru RS 2.5 sedan in the mix. There was an '05 STI in the mix. And then a black '05 S2000 supercharged Mugen hardtop. Biggest regret of my life. Like, that was the one, man. Like, everything was perfect. Like, everything was clean. The install was on point. Had a sub in the trunk, spare wheel well or tool space. Yeah, that was the one that got away. And like, all the hose clamps were aligned. Just everything was the way you would want somebody to install it, with the specific attention to detail. And after that, I think I went to the silver Subaru because I was dumb and decided to kind of, lay back and give up. And then I got a silver QX4, and I got an IS250, an IS350, a GX, RX7 for a little while. Crazy high maintenance, don't do it. Yeah, and then I got the itch again, told my wife, who was pregnant with my first kid at the time, which is crazy. I said, I want kind of a flashy car. I've always wanted an NSX since I was a kid. I remember when I was little, I would always tell my dad, hey Dad, whenever we see one, that's like an $80,000 car, I'll never get it, but I love it, blah, blah, blah. And it's crazy, here I am. The thing that stuck out the most with these cars for me was obviously the pop-up headlights and the streamline. Just for some reason, the center console, out of everything, the center console was the most eye-catching to me. Yeah, I regret that black S2000 though. I wish I would have still had it. I wish I still had it. Yeah, it's ironic, completely ironic, that we're here, Pacific Raceway, because my earliest memories in the whole scene or whatever was here. I remember back in the day, it was like high school. We started getting into cars, whatever. We'd hack up intakes from my Prelude to fit my SI or whatever, and fuck it, it worked. Whatever, you got the noise, you got the supposed power. And the big players back then was like the Hot Import Nights days, Team Menace. What were the other ones? Trick Speed. Ultra Speed, the shop Ultra Speed was in Chinatown, and they had the sickest shit. I think the owner had like a black Supra VL kit, and then those three spoke but double spoke ad bands, black with the red lip, so sick. If anyone can find me a set, I want that shit for my NSX. That'd be some old school shit. And Ultra Speed had the fucking legendary white RX-7, clean as shit, amazing. And they had a white BR4 GTO, whatever you want to call it. And I was in those stands right there watching that GTO take off, and for some reason it was the fastest shit I've ever seen, because you know, all-wheel drive, it hooked up instantly, and it ran. It wasn't 10s. I don't think it was 10. It was like 12s or something, but it was sick. But yeah, I was just having this conversation earlier with a friend, Brandon. I'm 17 years older than this kid. So when I was 17, when this kid was born, that's when it all started for me. Getting into cars, coming here, modifying. I was never that deep into the game as, you know, everyone else. Like I said, the imagination was always bigger than the execution. Yeah, it's so nostalgic being here. But even talking to him, it's a 17-year gap, and the game is still the same. Like, you're modifying it to your liking. Most people. Most people. Some people, whatever, I ain't hating. Do your thing. You're there for the show. You're there because that's your prerogative. That's the best way I can say, is your prerogative. Whatever the fuck you want to do with your life, you live and you learn. From even through cars, through life, same shit. Your struggle with an inexpensive car is still the same struggle as somebody with a Lambo. You know, oh fuck, my axle broke. It's a cheaper axle, more expensive axle, but it's still the same struggle, all the same. Everyone still has the same struggles. But yeah, back in high school, we went to the night races, all that. So in like 97, 98, and you know, coming back after whatever, all these places that life took me, it's surprising that the Kent races are still around. I don't know how they are now. I haven't been, but we meet up West Marginal, the Chevron by IKEA, and then you just wait around till it gets heavy, and then we run out. You'd either go to a UPS. I can't even find it now if I had to. There was a Boeing area, West Marginal, and back then, man, we would be out there till like, because you'd go at like 11:30, midnight, and all these spots, it wasn't that hot yet, so we'd be out there at 2:33 in the morning, undisturbed, just fucking running all the time. Del Sols with, you know, B series dropped on like SI wheels, clean. There was I think there was a crew, I can't remember their name, but they were all EG hatches. I remember a neon green one this one night. I think it's Deja Crew or something, I don't know. It had a couple Japanese letters, vertical Japanese letters on his B pillar, I think it was. Anyway, he was running this Lexus GS. GS 400 were fast as fuck back then too. And he spanked that shit. And he spanked like, I don't want to sound like I'm exaggerating, it might be a turbo Supra, but he beat everything he ran. And he popped the hood one time, we didn't find shit but a B series. Stock intake, he must have hid some shit, couldn't find shit. But yeah, it was hot those days. Um, and then I remember there was a white. Some of the OGs might remember too if you were going around that time too. There was a white. There's a white dude in a white Ford Taurus SHO or show or whatever, and he had. It's all stock looking, but he had a veal side wing on the back. And he would go every week out to the races. That shit was sick. But yeah, those were the days. But and it's still the same. I don't know how the races are these days, but the scene is still pretty similar. If you go to 3 or 4 hot import night shows back in the day, you've pretty much seen them all, you know? And then now I think all the big players, you know, now you have social media to get the exposure. You have all the big boys stand out instantaneously. But even them, like even at Week Fest, at the Super Street one at LeMay Car Museum the other week, you know, all the same players. But it's kind of a smaller thing. I haven't been to Honda Fest here, but I imagine it's pretty huge. But again, all the same players, and it's kind of hard to keep up if you're playing that game a certain way. It's hard to keep up. Like, oh, what am I gonna do next season? Fuck, I'm broke. Shit, I'll just keep my car the same. Whenever I save up, I'll just, you know, buy what I buy, install what I install. There's no time to it. This is me anyway. There's no timetable to it. There's no, I gotta get it in time for the season, this, that. It's, oh shit, there's a cheap Jay's exhaust. Cool, I'll pick that up right now, install it right now. That was, I don't even remember when I put that on. February or something like that. But yeah, we were talking about patience earlier, and everything that I look back on is like, if I was more patient with it and understood, it seems like I'm so behind it. Like people, I'm not as forward thinking as other people. You know, they have this image and they execute it, where again, my imagination was much bigger than the execution. But if I would have waited with that EP3, it was paid off pretty fast. So if I would have waited and enjoyed it as it was, understood the mistake of 18s on it, and then fuck, dual charge that shit, Type R kit, done. If I would have spent more time on the black RS 2.5 Subi, sick, repainted it black, you know, put STI motor in it, done. But no, it was always, I don't like it, done, next, let's move on to the next, And that black S2000, if I would have just waited, there was not much to do to it though. It was sick, but the wheel was, it had SSR GT3s on it, which was something it seems like nobody would buy. But the fitment was perfect. The size was perfect. Everything was on point with that car. I don't know if I ever would have changed much. The seats, because S2000 seats suck. Maybe up the boost. I would have upped the boost.